Legislative Assembly under the banner of the Mouvement Militant Mauricien in constituency number 10, Montagne Blanche, Grand River South-East. He was then returned as first member. In April 1977, he was elected municipal councillor and subsequently became mayor of the town of Beaubassin-Rosil, a position he held until the 22nd of December 1978. He stood for the 1982 general election for the Legislative Assembly in the same constituency, that is number 10, under the banner of the Alliance MMM-PSM, and was returned as second member. After the election, Mr. Jadou was appointed Minister of Education, a portfolio which he held until March 1983. He was then appointed Ambassador of Mauritius to France from 83 to 87. In August 87, he stood for the general elections in constituency number 13, Rivière des Anguilles-Souillac, under the banner of Alliance MSM Mauritius Labour Party, and he was returned as second member. In September 1987, he became Minister of Works, a portfolio which he held until the dissolution of Parliament in August 1991. He contested the 1991 election in the same constituency, number 10, under the banner of the Alliance MSM-MMM, and he was returned as first member. He was reappointed Minister of Works, a portfolio which he held until 1992. I must add, Madam Speaker, I was the leader of the opposition from 91 to 95, and I remember him as being very courteous towards the opposition and always answering questions that we asked and did not dilly-dally with long answers as we had become used to afterwards. Madam Speaker, Mr. Jadou was thereafter assigned the portfolio of Minister of Manpower Resources and Vocational Training and Technical Training and served in that position until November 1994. He then served as Minister of External Affairs until November 1995. Madam Speaker, Mr. Jadou's political acumen was acknowledged by the Organization of African Unity, now the African Union, when he was tasked to be in a very select group of mediators to unravel the political turmoil in Burundi in 1995. He also played an instrumental role in the adhesion of Mauritius to the Southern African Development Community, that is SADC. Madam Speaker, Mr. Jadou was one of the founders of the Mauritius Economic Society, which was set up in 1962 with a vision of preparing the youth to face post-independence challenges. He remained until recently an active member of that society. He was also the author of the book, Gaining a Competitive Edge. He was very active in the Global Rainbow Foundation, an association which supports the disabled through education and training. Madam Speaker, may I now kindly request you to direct the acting clerk to convey the deep condolences of the Assembly to Mrs. Jadou and the bereaved family. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes. Honourable
Madam
Deputy.
Speaker, with your permission, I
Yes.
join with what the Honourable Prime Minister has said. Thank you.
Thank you. Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, on behalf of the opposition, I fully associate myself to the tribute paid by the Honourable Prime Minister to late Ramdat Singh Jadou. Madam Speaker, may I kindly request you to direct the acting clerk of the National Assembly to convey our deep condolences to the bereaved family. Thank you.
Thank you, Leader of the Opposition. Honourable members, I associate myself with this tribute paid to the memory of late Ramdat Singh Jadou, former Member of Parliament, by the Honourable Prime Minister, the Honourable Deputy Prime Minister, and the Leader of the Opposition. I have known, of course, late Ramdat Singh Jadou personally in the various capacities mentioned by the Prime Minister, and I therefore direct the acting clerk to convey my personal deep condolences as well as those of the Assembly to the bereaved family. Thank you. Honourable members, under announcement, I have an announcement to make. in regard to the parliamentary committee set up for the monitoring of the Financial Crimes Commission. Pursuant to Section 29(2) of the Financial Crimes Commission Act, the Honourable Prime Minister designated the following honourable members to serve on the Parliamentary Committee. Honourable Danyeshwar Damri, Junior Minister of Finance, Honourable Chitradat Singh Lakiram, Honourable Chetan Anand Babulal, Honourable Mrs. Roxana Colette, and the Honourable Babita Tanu. I also have to inform that pursuant to the same provisions of the Financial Crimes Commission Act, the Honourable Leader of the Opposition has designated himself and the following honourable members to serve on the said committee. Please, Honourable Adrien Charles Duval, Opposition Whip, and Honourable Jean-Patrice Franco-Quirin. This is according to law, members. Moreover, pursuant to Section 1293 of the Financial Crimes Commission Act, the Honourable Prime Minister has designated Honourable Damri to act as chairperson of the said committee. Thank you.
Papers have been laid. Questions?
Yes, Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I've given notice of the following private question addressed to the Honourable Minister of Housing and Lands, whether in regard to the islets around Mauritius, he will state A, the names of the lessees thereof, indicating the 1, duration and purpose of the leases, and 2, yearly fees payable therefore, and B, if government intends to set up a legal framework to regulate the activities of operators thereon. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honourable Minister of Housing.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'd like to say thank you to the Honourable Leader of the Opposition for this question, which gives me an opportunity to give certain information that I deem vital for not only for the House but also for members, for the members of the public outside. Madam Speaker, I am informed there are 54 islets around Mauritius, out of which 51 are fully owned by the state. 1, Île aux Cerfs, is partly held by the state and is partly freehold. And 2 are privately owned, Île aux Fortiers and Île aux Chats. Out of the 52 state-owned islets, 22 are leased, including Île aux Cerfs, 8 are national parks, and 7 are nature reserves under the control of the Ministry of Agro-Industry, Food Security, Blue Economy, and Fisheries. Île de la Passe is a National Heritage Site, Île aux Matapans is a public beach, and Île aux Bernaches is vested jointly in the Ministry of Environment and the Police Department, even though it has not been actually implemented, but there was a decision to that effect. The remaining 12 islets are under the control of my ministry. I am, Madam Speaker, tabling the information requested in Part A of the question. Madam Speaker, with regards to Part B of the question, there is a pressing need indeed for the government to establish an institutional framework together with an islet management plan to regulate the activities of economic operators on the islets surrounding Mauritius. There is critical need to ensure the sustainable use of these fragile ecosystems while balancing environmental protection with economic interests, particularly in the tourism and leisure sectors. Île aux Bénitiers, for example, will indeed be used as a template for this initiative. Over the past years, the islet has witnessed an increase in unregulated commercial activities, including informal food and beverage operations, unauthorized recreational setups, and structures that are inconsistent with land use and environmental planning principles. These activities have raised concerns regarding sanitation, waste management, environmental degradation, and the preservation of public access and cultural value. Madam Speaker, further to site visits effected there and ongoing cleaning activities being undertaken, just rapidly, as at date, 138.8 tons of waste have been removed from Île aux Bénitiers. The management template, Madam Speaker, will be replicated to other islets around Mauritius. The aim is to promote a balanced approach that encourages responsible tourism and economic opportunities while preserving the national heritage of our coastal and marine assets. My ministry stands ready to support the development and implementation of this framework in collaboration with relevant stakeholders, including the Ministry of Environment, Ministry of Agro-Industry, Food Security, Blue Economy and Fisheries, it's a long name, and the Ministry of Tourism and Ministry of Local Government. And obviously all those who are ready to contribute positively and give us a helping hand in this matter and the population at large. This is my answer, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much, Minister. Yes, Leader, your supplementary question.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Since the Honourable Minister in his reply, he made mention of a template for L'Île aux Bénitiers. I understand this will be a master plan replicated for other islets at a later stage. Can we know from the Honourable Minister where matters are with regard to the preparation of that master plan and what is the time frame?
With regards to the master plan, the situation is as follows. This matter has been raised at cabinet level. An inter-ministerial committee has been set up, which is chaired by myself, that includes several other ministries, the Ministry of Agro-Industry, Tourism, Environment, and we have technicians who are also meeting in order to come up with the plan, which is precisely the management plan. And that management plan eventually will have to be brought to cabinet for government to take a decision as to what shape the plan will take. Obviously, there are various options that will be placed before cabinet, and it will be for cabinet to decide. Now, as regards the time frame, I can also add that there has been a lot of other meetings chaired by the Deputy Prime Minister in order to assist and help bring all other stakeholders on board. They have had meetings also with les plaisanciers that the Deputy Prime Minister has met in order to try to take on board their views. And all those issues, as we talked about the balancing exercise between the economic reality as well as the environmental situation, all this is being taken into account, and obviously we'll let the technicians come up with a proper management plan before we are to apprise Cabinet of same. Thank you.
Yes. May I ask the Honourable Minister whether that master plan will also take into consideration and assess the potential development, for example, hotel development or commercial development on the islets? On the islet, sorry.
Yes, Minister.
Let me straightforward say one thing. I mean, let me, for example, take the situation of Île aux Bénitiers, and it's an opportunity to explain. You see, there have been a lot of attempts made in the past in order to come up with a proper management plan. But those have been only attempts, and it has taken political courage in order to start by implementing, by cleaning up one island, and then we are going to follow up onto other islands. Now, with regards to the development of islands, the Honourable Leader of the Opposition should be aware, while he himself was in government, there has been a change in the law that calls now those islets around Mauritius, by the way, which does not even have a proper definition in our statute, what are islets? Okay. And this has to be looked into as well as part of the management plan. We have to have a legal definition of what is an islet. So while he was himself in government, and I don't mean any wrong or attacking answer, no conflict at this stage, it is that simply at this stage, at this juncture, it is simply that all those islets have been declared to be now in an environment-sensitive area. And as an environment-sensitive area, the whole idea is that hotels or resorts cannot and should not be built on islets, because our aim and the aim of all responsible government is precisely to protect all those islets. Obviously, there are certain islets that are already leased for 60 years, as he well knows. So on those islets, there are tourism activities because the purpose for which they were leased, it's provided for there. So the less development in line with the Environment Protection Act is what we are going to favor. So as far as Bénitier is concerned, let me put it very clear. We cannot entertain the construction of resorts or hotels on Île Bénitier. It has to be returned to nature.
That seems quite complete. Do you want
Yes, of course.
one more?
Yeah, can we know the status of l'Île Bénitier? Whether there is a list with regard to Île Bénitier? I understand that some time ago, that is around year 2009, there were 2 letters of intent that were issued to a company by the name of Suleiman Nabibakas Company Limited, one for the development of a hotel on the islet, and second, for a plot of land of an extent of 2 arpents and 90 perches on pas géométrique Grande Case Noyale to serve as a land base for the hotel project. Have those letters been cancelled by the ministry?
Let me inform the minister. I'm a bit surprised because
The Leader of the Opposition.
the Honourable Leader of the Opposition, because he was then minister in government that issued a letter of, there was a letter of intent that was issued to Nabibakas. No, I have the exact dates. You see, as far as the dates are concerned, I have here, there we go. And there were dates here in 2017. A meeting was chaired by the Honourable ex-Vice Prime Minister on the 11th of October 2017, Minister of Tourism, was requested to chair technical committee on Île Bénitier to come up with proposals regarding the potential use of the island. On the 29th of November 2017, the Ministry of Tourism submitted a report, and first option was to lease the whole islet to the Société, Nabibakas, and the second option was to demarcate the island in 3 parts, namely recreation, hotel development, and conservation. So what happened is that in light of this letter of intent that existed, there have been several letters, and it was for agriculture, it's coconuts. Okay? But as far as all those letters of intent there have been in history, for the past 10 years, the previous government that the Honourable Leader of the Opposition formed part of let it lie and did not do anything about it and let the situation rot. And it is precisely, and I don't mean it as any criticism, even though it's just factual. They've done nothing with regards to this letter of intent. They've let it rot, and this situation has been encouraged by l'inertie, the inability of the previous government to take any decision with regards to islet management, and in particular, l'Île Bénitier. And what did we see in return? 138 tons of debris is now being, as a date, removed from that island. But imagine how did it accumulate over all those years? Can you imagine, Madam Speaker? And what is unfortunate is that people were building concrete structures, toilets, with ceramic toilets all installed on concrete, au vu et au su des autorités à l'époque où le chef de l'opposition d'aujourd'hui était ministre, et ça se passait comme si de rien n'était. So this inability to see, or this voluntary refusal to take note, led to this situation today. But then again, I'm sure I can count on the goodwill of the people of Mauritius, including the Honourable Leader of the Opposition, to see and to take note that what we're doing now is indeed proper governance and proper governmental action.
Thank you. One more bite.
Yes, may I request the Minister to clarify something? Do we understand that that company still has an agricultural lease on that islet?
The answer is no. There is no agricultural lease on the islet. There is no lease agreement that was issued. No. precisely because this company had been writing time and time again to the previous government and asking the government to act. So instead of renewing or giving them a proper lease for that particular coconut plantation or even any development whatsoever, we end up with Linéa C totally sleeping on the file. But other people close to government were allowed to just go there and do as though it was their private property. Mauritians trading honestly and whom we intend to put in a better situation now were themselves sometimes asked to leave by those qui déclarent la case pas pour eux. So they were pretending that it was theirs when it was not theirs. So right now, we have also had situations, allow me to say that, because I've been reading press reports while the good leader of the opposition was then minister of that government, where drugs were found on the island in Ubénitier. Under the sand, stashed away. Police have found all this. So this is precisely what we're tackling. So if you want the proof that we are really implementing and taking bold decisions, there you have it.
Thank you. Another one?
Yes, I've got so many, Madam Speaker. This is an important subject.
Yeah.
Can the Minister inform the House whether the decision to remove the operators on the islet was a collective decision by Cabinet?
Answer, yes. I have the full support of Cabinet, full support of government, and let me underline, full support of the Prime Minister and full support of the Deputy Prime Minister. I'm supported, or I'm sure I have your support as well.
So long as you do things correctly, you'll have my support. Madam Speaker, Cabinet has decided to authorize some 50 operators to carry out their commercial activities on the islet once cleaning is completed. Can the Honourable Minister inform the House whether his ministry has carried out a survey to assess the number of persons on the islet, knowing that all operators do not have structures on the islet? There are also some other operators.
Let me say for one thing, at this particular juncture, no decision has been taken by Cabinet. However, no Cabinet decision has been taken as regards structures. However,
No, about
management
that
plan has to
particular
come
issue.
first.
One
Now,
moment. Minister?
let me explain. There is a survey that has been carried out, joint interministerially. We are carrying out surveys. Then there have been meetings between the operators on the island with the Deputy Prime Minister, and they have given us lists of those who are operating there. So obviously, this is an ongoing process where we have to find out who was operating, what were they operating in, what were they exactly doing. As I've said earlier on, we are cleaning up the place, and it is coming to be returned to nature, beautiful as we speak, because compared to what it was when they were in power. So now, when those operators are going to be allowed there, we're going to give them proper structures. They're going to, what we intend to aim for is them recognized as proper traders, lawfully trading in a place. And what we also, allow me to say that, want to do is that the majority of the island, at least 2/3, this is the plan, and obviously Cabinet has to approve, but the plan and the object here is to return the majority of the island to nature, protected as an environment protected area. And my good friend, the Minister of Agro-Industry, he has experts within his ministry to deal with this. So the Ministry of Environment also is giving a helping hand as a transition period when the management plan is getting ready. So we have taken everyone on board.
Thank you. Yes.
May I refer the Honourable Minister to a Cabinet decision which was taken some 1 week ago, whereby it is stated that some 50 operators would thereafter be authorized to carry out their activities anew on the islet without erecting any permanent structure. There is a Cabinet
That is the
decision.
transitional period that the good Honourable Leader of the Opposition is referring to. That's the transition period. Okay? During that transition period, obviously, we have to allow people, well, I'm not talking about when the final plan comes up. This is different. There were going to be structures then. In the meantime, the Ministry of Environment is going to be responsible for the management of the island, the cleaning up as well. There are going to be operators who will be allowed to go there, but without erecting permanent structures, as the cabinet decision says. And what happens is that once they've already worked during the day, they will be obliged to leave with their structures. We have to keep the island clean for the present and future generation.
May I ask the Honourable Minister whether there was some form of consultation with the operators on the islet before stopping the activities and pulling down the structures?
He said, I
we
thought
have-
he already said this.
We have given notice. We have given notice in line with the law, and we did not stick to the minimum delay. We gave more delay than that. And I can assure you as well is that when it was removed, it was ample delay was given, obviously because there were unlawful structures. A decision had to be taken, and a decision was taken, and I am happy that this decision was taken. Now, as far as consultations are concerned, as I've said in my answer earlier on, the Honourable Deputy Prime Minister has had meetings, and I thank him for that with the operators, and we have worked together in order to be able to find solutions where we put the operators in a better situation.
Thank you.
With regard to ongoing cleaning works on the islet, Madam Speaker, can the Honourable Minister inform the House whether operators requested to participate in the cleaning up of the islet and this was turned down by the Minister?
Yes, it is something that I thought it would not be appropriate for operators to clean up, because I was advised, and I'll explain my advice, when it was cleaned up, 138 tons, okay? Imagine a scenario where operators go to help in order to clean up, and I thank them for their goodwill. Imagine a situation where this is an operation led by the Ministry of Housing and Land, since we're custodian of that islet. Imagine someone gets hurt. Who would be responsible? So obviously there are legal impediments. Now morally, it's a beautiful story. Everyone wants to help. But we have to ensure that we respect the law, and that if ever there is anyone who gets injured, that there needs to be responsibility. Here, now we have a proper company that has gone through the process. He has been chosen to clean up. Now, if there is any issue, there is an insurance. So we are covered. This is a simple law which is called the Occupation Safety and Health Issue. So that's all.
Yes.
Yes, Madam Speaker, the press made reference to a meeting between the operators on the islet and the Deputy Prime Minister. Can I know from the Minister, Honourable Minister, whether he was present in that meeting?
No, I was not present at that meeting. However, before going to the meeting, I was informed by the Deputy Prime Minister that there would be such a meeting. As I've said, the Honourable Deputy Prime Minister has been helping out in a big way with regards to bringing out all ministries and operators together in order to facilitate the process. So that the Deputy Prime Minister, number 2 of government, was there, I'm even happy.
I understand that during that meeting, the issue of loss of revenue by the operators was raised. Can the Honourable Prime Minister inform the House whether government is giving due
I think you mean the Minister.
Yes, I mean,
You
yes.
still mean the Minister.
I'm asking the Honourable Minister whether government will give due consideration to that request.
You see, I understand the question of the Honourable Leader of the Opposition. And I'm not going to demarcate from what I'm always used to saying, which is very straight answers. Unfortunately, when I hear an answer like that, I call that demagogy. You see, he basically is trying to say that when they were in government, when they were kicking people out, literally kicking people out from plots of land, the then Minister of Housing and Land was giving them compensation. I know people who are waiting for compensation for the past 10 years who were not even entertained. Obviously, our aim here is to put the operators in a better situation. They were not in a good situation. Members of the public were not in a good situation when going onto the island. There were no proper facilities. And therefore, we want to put them in a better situation. And that they are recognized lawful operators. They were not lawful operators, and obviously we cannot give compensation or even consider that element if they are unlawful operators. So we have to be responsible about it, Madam Speaker, and I hope that maybe, if he couldn't do it, when he was minister in the previous government. Let him start doing so now.
Yeah, all right.
My question is simple, Madam Speaker. Some of those families depend solely on those activities. Will government consider giving them some sort of support? That's what I'm asking.
Madam Speaker, I thought I was very clear on this matter. Now, where does the buck stop? Where do we draw the line? Now, everyone can... then where do we draw the line? I mean, I hear we're not going to pass value judgment on what happened in the past. I recognize, government recognizes that those people are hard-working citizens. Unfortunately, there was no proper structure, regulation, in order to regulate this. Even islets, as I said, is not defined. We are putting things right because we are looking forward. This is what we have to do. Put them in a better position by looking forward.
Okay. Honourable Whip.
Yes, thank you. Madam Speaker, may I ask the Honourable Minister, given that has a survey been undertaken prior to blocking access to the operators? If so, how many operators have been identified as earning a living from Îlot Bénitier? And given that the blockage has happened in peak season and that they are now left to fend for themselves without being able to operate, and given that there is no legal impediment for exploitation of the islets today, even that there's no concession, why is it then, how will the minister then, again, compensate those, how many operators you will tell us
It's the same
for,
question.
for the last...
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Will you please sit down while I'm speaking? You're putting the same question again. Minister, do you want to answer again? Yes.
May I
Yes.
rephrase it? Depending on your answer on the number of operators, if it is more than 50, which you intend on allowing to operate in the future, how will you compensate those other operators that will not be able to fall within the 50? Can you tell us how many there are, and what about the other ones then?
Okay, that is an opportunity to go even further. Let me explain. Number one, there is no issue of compensation.
Fini.
Simple. Let's put it a stop to this whole idea of trying to score cheap political points by talking about that. Please, hold. Now, that they have nothing else to hold on to, I understand. But let's be responsible and reasonable. So now the other issue is how many operators will come there. Now, the operators, they themselves, have met with the Deputy Prime Minister and have met with ministers and have... It was done in parallel. And obviously, 50 or so operators were given, the names were given, and this is not emanating from government, this emanates from the operators themselves. So now there's the exercise by technicians to find out how we could accommodate those 50 environmentally in a sound manner for it not to damage the island. Second issue which we also have to look into is how to have access to the island. The honourable member would know, Madam Speaker, that all the sand around the island does not have any coral anymore. It's all destroyed because all boats come towards the shore, onto the beach. All those issues have to be taken into consideration in order to have a proper protection of these zones around the islands. So as far as the number of operators are concerned, or even the number of visitors that will be allowed to visit on a daily basis, we shall take good note of how other islets are managed in other jurisdictions, for example, Philippines or Thailand, how they put up proper structures to manage islets, not in a way to go for cheap political points, but for generations to come.
Last question. Then Leader of the Opposition, I'm sorry. It's his question. Question time.
Don't fight.
Madame la Présidente, le constat général, c'est une situation de poids et de mesure. My question is, what will government do to rectify that, Madam Speaker?
Minister, we got few minutes left.
Yes, 2 minutes. Let me very quick. For 10 years, They've done nothing.
Worse
I totally agree. They've done worse than that. So, for one thing, we are going to ensure that it is not an open place for people to go in close to the previous regime and stuff drugs under the sand. One, we are working closely. The Prime Minister has been briefing me and working closely with the Commissioner of Police to ensure that those islets around Mauritius are not used for drug trafficking and for any other illicit business. This is what we're doing. What we are doing as well is not only encouraging those who are the exclusive few known to certain ministers in high quarters to be allowed access to those islands. What we are doing is protecting the environment because we recognize the importance of leaving pour postérité, pour les générations futures, the islets in a proper state than it is today, in a better state tomorrow, but we are also balancing it with operators. Mauritius is important, not kitchen politics like they did.
Members, we are done with this question. Time is almost up. There's no time for question and answer. So I think we shall move on. Yes. Now I call on the, one moment, the Honourable Second Member for Quartier Militaire and Moka.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Question B395, please.
Madam Speaker, I thank the Honourable Member for this question. In fact, a series of tax exemptions has been granted to the promoters under the Smart City Scheme since its introduction on the 18th of June 2015. The main ones include exemption from VAT on buildings and infrastructure, 8-year income tax holiday on income derived from real estate activities within the Smart City, exemption from customs duty on import of machinery and materials for construction of buildings, exemption from registration duty and land transfer tax on the transfer of land into a smart city company, exemption from Morcellement fee, and exemption from land conversion tax for developments other than residential on land in the smart city. The House will recall, Madam Speaker, in my reply to PQB 130 on the 18th of March of this year, I informed the House that the total amount of exemptions granted since the introduction of the Smart City Scheme is around 6.61 billion rupees. Madam Speaker, in the context of the forthcoming budget exercise and taking into account the state of the economy, the Ministry of Finance is carrying out an analysis of various schemes to determine their effectiveness and the impact on public finances. The waiving off of any tax exemptions granted to companies under this scheme would also be closely examined.
Thank you. Yes. Next question, Honourable First Member for Savannah and Black River.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. B396.
Madam Speaker, I'm informed that the Cotton Bay Hotel, which was constructed in 1991, had been operating with a capacity of 60 rooms. I'm also informed by the officer in charge of Airport Holdings Limited that on the 15th of March 2023, the Board of Point Coton Resort Hotel approved the renovation of the existing 60 rooms and the construction of 32 additional rooms, as well as upgrades to the public areas, back-of-house facilities, technical building, and associated external works and draining infrastructure. On that same day, the Board of Point Coton Resort Hotel Limited approved that the hotel renovation and extension project be undertaken at the revised estimate cost of 650 million rupees. That is excluding VAT. That was on the 15th of March. On the 12th of June, the contract for the refurbishment and extension works was awarded to Laxman Bai and Company Limited at the cost of 683 million rupees, 501,922 rupees, and 42 cents as well. So don't forget the cents. Again, that's exclusive of VAT. I must point out, Madam Speaker, that the letter of award was signed on behalf of Point Coton Resort Hotel Limited by Mr. Ken Oya, director without board approval, signed without board approval. It was only 4 days later, that is on the 16th of June, 2023, that the board of Point Coton Resort Limited approved that the contract be awarded to Laxman Bai and Company Limited at the negotiated price, that is of 683,501,922 rupees and 42 cents. Again, exclusive of VAT. Worse, Madam Speaker, this letter of award of the 12th of June 2023 was ratified by the same board only on the 18th of September 2023. That is a bit more than 3 months later. Now, an additional amount of 28,321,006 rupees, exclusive of VAT, representing variation works incurred and brought the renovation project to now to 711,822,928 rupees, and again with 42 cents. So far, an amount of 650,715,715 rupees, exclusive of VAT, has already been paid to the contractor. Furthermore, from the period May 2023 to April 2024, contracts were awarded to 28 suppliers for the procurement of other components of the project, including furniture, kitchen, laundry equipment. You would have thought it's called money laundering equipment, as well as the purchase and installation of desalination plant at the total cost of 86,342,773 rupees and 63 cents. As at date, an amount of 78,128,965 cents has been disbursed to these contractors. I'm tabling the information with respect to these 28 suppliers. Madam Speaker, as if that was not enough, an additional sum of 15,962,062 rupees was disbursed by the company to these 22 service providers for communication, training, IT system, and insurance, among others. Again, I'm tabling this information. And I'm sure honorable members will be surprised, and wait for it. A further amount of 83,918,643 rupees has been paid to 12 consultants, including Etwaru Associates Limited, and this information again is being tabled. Nothing to do with them. It's not written the same way. Madam Speaker, so we are faced with a project which was initially estimated at 650 million rupees, and which is now estimated to cost the taxpayer 1,024,956,038 rupees. This represents an increase of 58% of the original. This is a classic example of how projects were implemented under the previous regime. To date, an amount of 788,347,569 rupees, excluding VAT, has been paid to the contractor, the different service providers, and the consultants. Madam Speaker, in view of these disturbing, really disturbing facts that have emerged from the way this project has been handled since its inception, a 58% increase, including the dubious procurement process, approval before the board approves, this matter is being referred to the Financial Crimes Commission for investigation.
Okay, Mr. Beveridge. Yes, Honourable Third Member for Grand Bay, Boudreau.
Madame la Présidente, merci. Ma question 397, s'il vous plaît.
Je vous en prie.
Madam Speaker, the 2025 spring meetings of the IMF and the World Bank Group took place from the 21st to 26th of April in Washington. The Governor of the Bank of Mauritius, in his capacity as alternate governor, representing Mauritius on the Board of Governors of the IMF, participated in the spring meetings. I wish to inform the Honourable Member that government already had extensive and fruitful discussions with the IMF and the World Bank, with the IMF especially under this Article 4 consultation mission, the one Mauritius, just a few days before the holding of the 2025 spring meetings. After having taken cognizance of the economic and fiscal quagmire in which the previous government has left our country, the IMF stressed the urgency for fiscal consolidation and strengthening of the monetary policy framework in order to secure financial stability. The IMF further emphasized on the need for structural reforms to boost our external competitiveness, promote private sector-led growth, and enhance labor supply and skills. Further to discussions, the IMF has welcomed our commitment and efforts to implementing structural reforms as well as a credible medium-term fiscal consolidation plan. Madam Speaker, the World Bank has also looked at the precarious situation the previous regime has left us and have recommended ways to implement this fiscal consolidation and economic revival. I can assure the House and the Honourable Member that the valuable suggestions of both the IMF and the World Bank are being considered in the context of the budget preparation and our overall determination to reconstruct our economy and our society.
Thank you. Yes. Thank you. The third member for Pamplemousses and Triolet.
Madam Speaker, B398.
Madam Speaker, according to information obtained, I must say obtained so far, 20 contracts have been awarded by ministries and public bodies during the period from 2015 to 2024 to Verde Frontier Solutions Limited for a contractual value of 50.6 million rupees. Furthermore, Mobank Holdings Limited has awarded a contract of 17.9 million to a consortium comprising of Priscus Finance, Gibraltar Advisory, and Verde Frontier Solutions as transaction advisor for the disposal of its subsidiaries. With regards to Part A and B of the question, I'm tabling the corresponding contractual value of each contract and the procurement method used thereafter. Madam Speaker, in view of the fact that additional information is being compiled, I intend to make a further statement on the entire Verde saga. This is now the subject of an ongoing inquiry, and I would therefore refrain from saying anything more, not to prejudice that inquiry.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Rutney. Okay. Yeah. Honourable First Member for Port Louis North and Montagnon. Yes.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. B399.
Madam Speaker, I'm informed by the Commissioner of Police that from November 2024 to the 2nd of May 2025, around 20 complaints have been received from the inhabitants of Cité La Cure with regards to illegal activities at night, which include loud music, illegal parking at the traffic center, amongst others. The local police attended to these complaints and effected site visits to the location mentioned in the complaints. The police has noted that the main complaints pertain to the playing of loud music, which cause inconveniences to the inhabitants. And the police have taken the following measures to curb this proliferation of illegal activities. I discussed with the Commissioner of Police. He decides on the operation of forces, but the SMF is being brought in to assist the police for the maintenance of law and order. Furthermore, joint crackdown operations are being carried out by day and night in the region by Personal Divisional Support Unit, Emergency Response Services, Police de l'Environnement, ATSU, and CID for the prevention of detection of offences. Optimum use of the 7 safe city cameras found in that region for monitoring the movement of suspicious persons and vehicles in the region are being done. Thirdly, the Crime Prevention Unit, in collaboration with the Brigade pour la Protection de la Famille and NGOs, are raising public awareness on the various scourges impacting on the community. The ongoing Neighborhood Watch has been enhanced to ensure better collaboration between the inhabitants and the police. Now, notwithstanding the complaints mentioned earlier, with respect to the region of Cité-la-Cure, I'm informed, again, I had discussions with the Commissioner, but I'm informed that with a view to preventing, because what happens is we hear all the time the police have gone there, patrols and all this, but the problem is continuing. We have to put a stop to it. So I'm informed that with a view to preventing the upsurge of substance abuse in this area, ATSU, again with the assistance of the SMF, has so far conducted 15 crackdown operations, resulting in the arrest of 13 suspects from the November 2024 to 2nd of May 2025. Madam Speaker, the police is taking all the necessary measures to ensure a peaceful environment in the region of Cité-la-Cure. They will be working in close collaboration with the inhabitants to address the problems they are facing. Furthermore, the police de l'environnement will be provided more resources to ensure a more effective service in the region to combat the problem of noise pollution.
Thank you. Yes. Honourable Second Member for Rivière-des-Anguilles, Souillac.
Thank you, Madame. Question B400, s'il vous plaît.
Madam Speaker, the House will surely recall that the former Prime Minister refused to answer questions relating to Mr. Sattar Haji Abdullah. He never answered any question. He was a protected man. Bush. I have decided to depart from that and to answer because it is a matter of national interest. And I thank the Honourable Member for the question. I presume that the Honourable Member is not only referring to parastatal bodies, but also to state-owned enterprises and entities involving public funds which have retained the services of Mr. Sattar Haji Abdullah for the period of 2015 to November 2024. Now,